Hey everybody, it is Justin, your guide into the state of Web3 gaming, and this is a GAME7 Research presentation from 2023, and it has a ton of insights with regards to the trends, the games that are being developed, the games that are being played, as well as, just literally everything going forward. So why don't we break down and break into it? So I know it says 61, but we're going to skip a couple of things that don't necessarily pertain, to I'm just focusing on the games part and just the trends. So we'll get to the fun images in just a moment. So again, they kind of go over who they are as well as the research and what the purposes of it is. But I should probably go over the introduction. So there is a pressing need for high quality and unbiased research to guide decisions for Web3 game developers, investors, and players. That's me. So up until now, the extensive blockchain gaming ecosystem has not been thoroughly examined or indexed. And basically, the data here that they're going over is over 1,900 blockchain games, 1,000 funding rounds, and 170 blockchain ecosystems over the course of the past 6 years. So again, it's going to provide a comprehensive and huge overview of the ecosystem, and it's just going to be massive. So again, they go over limitations, which is just public information that they're using, as well as focusing on supply side off-chain indicators. But essentially, the table of contents for this video is essentially going to be as follows, right? We're going to go over the executive summary. We're going to dive into the gaming ecosystem itself, as well as the gaming stack and the gameplay, which is probably the most fun part. And then the network stack, competitive dynamics, and funding. I don't know how much I'll highlight that, just because we just want to get to the meat of the paper. So the executive summary here. So this is probably important to go over as well. So ecosystem, right? The Web3 gaming market is growing post the 2022 market correction, albeit at a slower rate, right? We saw that explosion of games back in 2021. It's actually highlighted in a graph that we're going to take a look at in just a second. But the Asian Pacific, the APAC region, I know that's for Asia, region hosts most Web3 game development teams, while the US remains the most dominant market. Very interesting. 2023 saw a significant rise in blockchain networks targeting the gaming industry, despite being slower growth for new Web3 gaming titles. That's also very interesting, right? Okay, gaming stack, right? This kind of goes over this kind of goes over like Web3 games are still not in the mainstream distribution channels, right? The Epic Store, however, has increasingly listed Web3 games influenced by its updated self-publication strategy, right? So I would say, a couple of games that I've played or tested out, like Cosmic Battles coming to the Epic Game Store, I believe, and then the Forgotten Runeverse is also going to launch on the Epic Game Store. It will be available there, right? So I don't see that trend slowing down anytime soon. Probably will accelerate, right? And then they kind of go over Unity, Unreal, being the dominant like platforms for game development. And then for gameplay, they kind of go over things like, indie development and early stage projects are, the dominant force currently in this stage of the market. So, and then there's a scant presence of AAA and AA titles. So again, in terms of genres, RPGs, action strategies, and casual games are top picks, with platform-specific preferences revealing that RPGs and actions as popular on PC. I can't read that sentence. But anyways, and a balanced mix on mobile and casual games, leading in browser-based games. Okay, so like which ones are most popular per platform? And then they kind of go over network stack, competitive dynamics, competition between L2s and where things are launching on L1. And then they also have investment stuff, which isn't necessarily pertinent to us. So we'll take a look at the Web3 gaming ecosystem. So, okay, we saw the explosion of Web3 games in 2021, and we saw it decline, up until 2023. We still have yet to see 2024 as the bull market continues to move. So whether, more games get funded, I remember seeing on like the, on games.gg that there were more funding rounds. So we'll have to see the game launches that come this year and in 2025. But essentially we did see a bunch of games from 2022, get halted, as well as, things kind of exploded in our face. But let's talk about global distribution of Web3 game developers per region. So again, the Asia region in this particular blue color is about 40%. Of course, America sits at about a third as well, and then the rest is in Latin America, as well as the EMEA region. So it's kind of split 30 down the board here, but interesting to see how Asia has. Well, I guess it makes sense because there's a lot of game presence there. So Web3 game development per teams per region over time. So we can kind of see how the Asian or the APAC region has been increasing in terms of dominance. North America has also been increasing too. So, okay, they also go down the global distribution of developers per country. So that's interesting as well. So global distribution. Wow. So they host one of three. U.S. remains the largest country market, hosting almost one of three Web3 game development teams today. So that's a lot. And then kind of go over the Web3 game development teams per country over time. So you kind of see how the South Korea is like massive. Holy moly. Went from 4% to 27% in like 2 years. Ooh, interesting. So, okay, let's talk about the new blockchain gaming networks per year. So, despite unfavorable market conditions, 2023 witnessed a substantial surge in networks targeting Web3 gaming. So, despite things going kind of rocky and down, the number of games is relentless, and new blockchain gaming networks continue to expand. I've been seeing a ton of games proposing their own chains or doing something specific. So that makes a lot of sense, especially if they want to have control over, their economies and things like that. So let's move on. The new networks to new Web3 games per year, we had kind of functions the same as the number of games being launched too. So we'll just skip past this one. And then, of course, the industry map is gigantic, right? So again, they kind of break it down. I'll go over the top. So basically, this is the blockchain gaming network industry map. There's general use layer 1 networks, and then there's also general use layer 2 and layer 3. There's also application-specific network frameworks, and then meta protocols as well. But honestly, I've been seeing a ton of these on the timeline. Seeing AVAX, been seeing Ronin, been seeing Polygon, been seeing Arbitrum, as well as a couple of other of these. I think Xi was also Xi was pretty massive too. Immutable has a big presence as well, but there are a ton here. Basically, honestly, I don't think there's going to be a shortage of games or game developers on blockchain anytime soon. So it's probably just going to keep getting bigger. There's a lot. So let's talk about the gaming stack, right? So Web3 games per platform. So again, of course, Web3 games are evenly distributed across mobile, browser, and PC. It's literally okay, percentage of games: mobile 41%, browser 40%, PC 39%. And then again, multi-platform, 20% of them are multi-platform, and then about 81% are single platform. So honestly, since the majority of games honestly are mobile, so I do think that mobile is probably going to continue to rise faster. But again, let's take a look. So new Web3 games per platform over time. So let's just kind of see where they're releasing. So again, okay, how do we read this data? So it's okay, I don't know how to read this data, but essentially over the past in 2022 and 2023, it seems like mobile has actually inched out to the top at about 41% and 40% for preferred platform over time. So we're seeing a lot of mobile pushing. And then PC has actually declined over time, and then browser has just been kind of fluctuating as that is just browser. So, okay, let's talk about the Web3 games per distribution platform. So, how does that work? So 6 out of 10 Web3 games are excluded from mainstream distribution platforms. So that's very interesting. Again, most of them are direct distribution from the game developer themselves, so 63%. Web 2 platforms about 41%, and then Web 3 is about 17%. So we still have to see how that updates over time. Okay, this is a fun chart right here. The Epic Game Store Web 3 listings. And we've actually seen this has gone like pretty exponential over the past 2 years. And this doesn't include 2024, so we don't know if this is like, petered out, has it gone up? And again, this is the number of games being released per month on the Epic Game Store. So again, this isn't necessarily the number of total listings. I think this is the number of listings per month. So again, that's a interesting nuance. So anyways, went from 2 in June to 3 added in July of 2022. So and then now it's like double digits like consistently in 2023. Up until 69 games being released. in October, 67 in September. And literally, that's probably going to increase over time as we have more development teams putting things out of alpha and onto full development. So we'll have to see how that increases over time. So that mainstream adoption, it's going to be permeating the space. So people are going to eventually be playing these games. And they're not going to understand, or they're not even going to know that it's going to be Web3. It's just going to be, oh, it's just a game I play. And then maybe I can use some NFTs, or maybe I'm earning the NFTs, blah, 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 whatever type of, whether they're earning stuff. And I'm getting too much into the weeds. Let's move on to the next one. So the game engine market share, again, is just dominated by Unreal Engine and Unity. So that's not really a surprise. Okay. Let's talk about the blockchain game archetypes. So there are three kinds. There's games with on-chain assets, there are hybrid on-chain games, and then there are fully on-chain games, right? So, of course, each, the games that you're playing are going to fulfill either of these categories, and it kind of goes into data. The majority of them are games with on-chain assets, right? So they, most Web3 games utilize blockchain for tokenizing the asset, but they maintain the game state and logic mostly off-chain. So, gameplay. Okay, we finally got to the fun part of the video. If you don't like data. Okay, so Rickroll, we still got data. So, Web3 games per production level quality. So, the majority of the games in the industry currently are indie games, mid-size, and primitive. I don't know what primitive means, but we'll break it down. So, AA games are ones with about 10 to 25 million and large development teams falling short of becoming traditional AAA benchmarks. And of course, AAA games, y'all know what those games are. Those are, games with super big budgets, over 25 million, literally 1%. Okay, primitive games, about 12%. So games at the proof of concept stage with minimal design plans and a loosely associated teams constitute about 12%. Mid-sized games are indie games that have secured financial support under 10 million to accelerate and scale their development efforts. So, we're seeing a ton of mid-sized games, trying to put out proof of concept and stuff like that. And, just scale and grow user acquisition. So again, let's talk about indie games. So these are games developed by individuals or small teams without the financial support of investors or a game publisher. So we'll have to see how things grow over time, but we have been seeing some partnerships across the board with these infrastructure companies like Immutable or Beam or, a couple others. I've been seeing them work with like Ubisoft or, just all these big publishers in the double A and above are dipping their toes in, in the partnerships. If you take a look on the news, you just search it up. Anyways, so, this is a fun one. Okay, these are the Web3 games per primary genre. So, what are the most popular games in Web3 today? The majority are RPGs and action and strategies. So these constitute about 22%, 17%, strategy at 15%, and then casual, sports, MMOs, and then it keeps going down to card game simulation and et cetera, et cetera. But of course, makes a lot of sense. So let's keep moving on. So Web3 games per primary subgenre. So MMORPGs and action RPGs lead as the most popular subgenres, highlighting the RPG dominance. So again, that's pretty wild. Oh, Metaverse is at 4%. Okay. Okay. Primary genres of Web3 games per platform. So RPGs are an action. Oh, so they talk about the platform that these are preferred on. So of course, PC, it's probably going to be RPGs, action strategies. Action probably relates to, first person shooters and stuff like that. Can't really play that on mobile without wanting to throw your phone at the wall. But anyways, yeah, it kind of makes sense. Browser games, more casual, makes sense. Mobile games, dominant ones are, strategy, casual, just because it's not, you don't really have a keyboard or mouse. But anyways, that makes a lot of sense with regards to which are most popular on each platform. So again, we kind of go over things like genre popularity for fully on-chain games too. Seems like strategy and RPGs are most preferred for fully on-chain games. And then, okay, let's talk about the business model for Web3 games. Most of the Web3 games are free to play. Makes sense. And then about a quarter, about 26, require players to hold specific NFTs to access the game. So the dominance of free to play is not to be understated, and that will likely not change over time. It will probably only increase, in my opinion. And again, the dynamics between, user onboarding, with regards to a business model, it's like you got to have something that, normal users and just casual gamers can play for free. That's like where you can spread your game literally everywhere. And then if they want to use NFTs, of course, that's probably some integration in the future. That's probably the best business model, in my opinion. The optionality is very, very important for a lot of people, especially in the game realm. So the network stack. I don't know how deep I'm going to go into this particular portion of the video, but let's just see what we got here. So, they talk about layer 2s, layer 1s, and layer 3s. Okay, I read that backwards. Layer 1, 2, and 3. So again, if you guys don't know what the layers are, we're about to see like game layer wars right now. It's actually gonna be pretty exciting to see which chains come out on top after this entire cycle, because it's going to be wild. So again, if you guys don't know what layer 1's, it's a sovereign blockchain protocol that can independently carry out key functions for the operation without technical dependencies on other networks. So again, it kind of goes over the technicals, but I'm not going to bore you with that. Those are things like Ethereum, Solana, stuff like that. And then layer 2's are blockchain protocols built on layer 1's to extend its functionality, such as performance, transaction fee costs, or programmability. We've seen this with, zero knowledge proofs and optimistic rollups. And then layer 3's, damn, we got a lot of layers on. So similar to layer 2's, layer 3's extend the functionality of the parent chain while dependent on layer 2 network for standard operations. And they usually serve the needs of bespoke applications by giving more control to developers over general use layer 2 networks. So we kind of saw this in the context of something like, say, the Ape DAO Ape Chain, right? Ape DAO and Ape Chain. I remember seeing their AIP with the DAO, and they were building. There were a lot of layer 2 proposals on which what I can't say any words today. Where is Ape Chain going to be on? Is it going to be on Optimism? Is it going to be on, Arbitrum? Is it going to be on Polygon? And they picked Arbitrum, and Arbitrum has layer 3 solutions. So Ape Chain could have, anyways, it could have its own chain as a layer 3. And a lot of games are doing things like this as well. So again, let's just move on. So, man, that was way too long. That was way too long. Okay, so network types. I just explained that. So, well, you can just pause and just read it if you want to. I probably said it wrong anyways. So, okay, Web3 games per primary network type. So again, most things are on layer 1 still. Very painful gas fees. I'm just talking about Ethereum specifically. But again, 22% on general use layer 2. Web3 games per network subtype, EVM subchains are sitting at, over half. And then there are the rest over here. So new gaming networks per type per year. Holy moly. So app chains were the most popular network type announced this year, followed by general use L2. So app chains. Wow. I think that refers to L3. Yeah, probably. So that's pretty wild. No one wants to build on layer 1's because no one wants to get destroyed by gas. And there's a lot more functionality in the general use layer 2's app chains and meta protocols. So we're seeing that grow over the couple years. What is this? New gaming networks per subtype. So it kind of goes over this as well. You can just screenshot that, but I'm not going to spend too much time here. I actually want to get to the point where it talks about the layer 2 wars. Okay, so it seems like most new games continue to build on layer 1 networks, despite the launch of many layer 2 and layer 3 chains. So, okay, there might be some discrepancy in the way that I explained it, but I would just reread the threads or reread the presentation. Anyways, we're going to keep going on. So, the number of networks per Web3 game. So, again, most Web3 game developers are following a single chain strategy for their game. So, again, that is probably cost development. If you were trying to make a multi-chain game, that's probably resource intensive from a game developer side. So it makes sense why they're all on, why they usually pick one network and stick with it. So, okay, this is just virtual machine adoption. So we're gonna skip this part. Competitive dynamics. Oh, we get to the fun war part. Okay. It's Web3. We're supposed to be collaborative, but of course, we're gonna think about it in terms of who's gonna be the top guy. So. Right now, from this this presentation from 2023, Polygon sits at the very top right now with the most Web3 games today, followed by, surprisingly, Binance Chain. I've never seen Binance Chain on my timeline with regards to games, like, ever. Like, someone needs to refer me to like the Binance games that are like being developed, because I don't know if I've seen them right now. So, um, okay, Polygon's number one. I'm gonna skip over Binance for now. Of course, Ethereum layer ones, and then Solana, surprisingly, right after Ethereum. So I'll have to take a look at the Solana ecosystem. That's definitely interesting if they have games there. And then of course we got Immutable as well, huge chain. We got AVAX as well with the number of games. Ooh, AVAX, yeah, that AVAX game, I've seen that. And then of course Arbitrum as well. You know, I am playing in the Arbitrum arcade. We're seeing a bunch of marketing and campaigns for that. We have, okay, Wemix, Wax, Sui, I can't say that, Oasis, Flow, Mantle, and Ronin. So these are all the chains that are being built on in Web3 currently, with a significant number of games. But we'll keep moving on, and it's going to be interesting to see how this changes over time. Web3 games per layer 2. So this just breaks it down for layer 2s, right? And out of the okay, Immutable is the most popular layer 2 for Web3 games, followed closely by Arbitrum, and then of course we have Mantle and the rest at the very bottom. So interesting to see base here as well. So active games per non-EVM chains. So this is not Ethereum at all. So again, of course, it makes sense. The Solana is at the very top. Of course, Immutable X, and then Wax, and then the rest are here as well. So networks of games per blockchain framework. So Optimism. Oh, surprisingly, I'm not too like keen on Optimism from a research standpoint. So it's interesting to see that Optimism Stack is the leading choice among blockchain frameworks for new gaming networks. So maybe not games, but networks, right? And then this is so again, active games. They also wow. Okay, so networks, and then the number of games. It's 96. Wow. And then Starkware's at like 5 and 114. So notable ones here for active games is like Optimism Stack, Starkware, Arbitrum, Nitro, and EOS.io. Interesting. So we'll have to keep moving on here. And then they talk about great game migrations too. So in 2023, an all-time high number of Web3 games migrated to different networks, right? So this is probably from layer 1 to an app chain, or layer 2 or something like that, to gain more control of the development and functionality of the ecosystems within. So again, which ones receive the most Web3 games from other blockchain networks? And the biggest one is actually Polygon, at about 32 number of migrations, followed by Immutable X, or Immutable, not Immutable X, at 24, followed by Arbitrum, Avalanche, Oasis, and Ethereum mainnet. What is moving to Ethereum mainnet? Interesting. Okay. And they kind of go over more information with regards to the game migrations. And again, this kind of covers the nuance. Most 6 out of 10 games that migrated from L1 moved to a layer 2. So again, that's for increased functionality and lower gas fees, very likely. And then 73% of games that decided to migrate to a new network selected an EVM-based chain. So Ethereum Virtual Network, bullish. And then funding, last but not least. I don't know how much time I'm going to spend on this one either, because I don't know how long it is. It's only about 10 slides, so we'll just blast through the rest, right? So Web3 gaming-related funding per year. So again, Web3 gaming projects have raised about $1.5 billion in the first 3 quarters of 2023. So that's not an insignificant amount of money. I think that's probably reversing towards the upside in 2024 throughout 2025, because I can feel the gaming meta about to explode. Yeah. Okay, obviously, bull market aside from 2021, 2022, 2023 was a bear market. 2024, 2025, I don't know. It's going to be a bull market. We still have yet to see new all-time highs truly yet. So we'll see. So more than 800 million deployed this year to projects exclusive to Web3 gaming, with the rest shared across multiple verticals. So wow, okay. Interesting. So that's a lot of money too, Jesus. So Web3 gaming funding per quarter. So the funding in 2023 has stabilized near the 2021 levels prior to the bull market. So we're sitting at the peak was like quarter four 2021 at like 2 billion. And then we're kind of sitting at around 300 to 160 million. So anywhere within that range. So the funding and expansion of games that are going to be developed over time is likely going to continue just because that's a couple $100 million. That's a lot of games that can be bought and funded. And then, okay, let's talk about Web3 gaming content versus infrastructure funding. So, Web3 gaming content has consistently attracted more funding than gaming infrastructure. That's very interesting. I need to fund $2.9 billion of gaming content. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I'm going to be serious for a second. Web3 gaming content makes that bridge between games and, you know, people who want to play games. It actually funds that bridge, right? Versus gaming infra, right? Because infra is in the back. It's not front end. But gaming content is front end. So it makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. But we'll have to see if that trend reverses in 2024. Because we're currently sitting at like 600 million versus 219 for the gaming content and infrastructure. So let's move on. Ooh, this is an interesting one. So, average Web3 gaming round size per year. So, the funding for gaming infrastructure tends to be concentrated in fewer and larger rounds. Interesting. So, we kind of we saw it explode in 2021 as well as 2022. But the funding amount, yeah, wow. Okay. Interesting. Let's move on. So, Web3 gaming content funding per primary game. So, which kinds of games are being funded? So, it seems like at the very top, with over $1 billion, sports and metaverse MMO titles have significantly influenced funding activity. So, there's a lot of sports, MMOs, RPGs, and then, of course, at lower than half of the top three is action, simulation, strategy, social, etc., etc. But the most popular are sports, MMOs, and RPGs. So pretty standard. Okay, let's see what else. So average gaming content funding per primary game. Oh, what did I say here? Web3 gaming funding per primary game. Okay, what are the difference here? So average gaming content funding per game. So sports, MMOs, and simulation genres attracted on average the largest Web3 gaming content rounds. So it seems like there's a lot of gaming content funding here with regards to, the genres that do get the total funding. So wow, that's a lot. So let's keep moving on. So Web3 gaming infrastructure funding per vertical. So infrastructure funding mainly focused on networks, NFT marketplace, and all-in-one platforms. So, of course, blockchain networks are going to, constitute the majority of the funding amounts. But let's see what else there is in terms of infrastructure that VCs wanted to fund. And it seems like marketplaces and tooling and NFT tooling, that makes sense as people need places to go transact and figure out what they want to do with their NFTs. And then all-in-one development platforms as well. So note, all-in-one platforms are solutions for Web3 game development. So again, that's just making sure that developers can make their games. And then, of course, there's blockchain wallets, metaverse tooling, accelerators, esports and guilds, data and analytics, NFT IPs itself, etc., etc. But that's interesting data as well. So I'm going to continue saying interesting. Maybe I should say intriguing instead. But, of course, the USA at the moment is sitting at about $4.2 billion in terms of Web3 gaming funding to date, followed by France, Canada, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Australia, South Korea, UK, Germany, and Japan, and Vietnam. The rest making up a less than. Dang, USA is like, that's a lot of money, guys. Okay, we got basically to the end. Disclosure. But yeah, that's basically my recap of the GAME7 research. Again, there are some really interesting data points in here. Whether we have L2s and stuff like that, fighting it out for top dominance in the game. Maybe I should jump back to the front just to top it all off. But basically, that was really interesting. I like to break this data down every once in a while because it's nice to have some context into the way that games are building and the direction of the market. So we'll just have to see. I'm excited to play more games. It's always nice to see what is being built, what new business models are being innovated on, and just how everything's gonna go. So if you guys like this content, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. I've been blasting it for too long. It's been about 30 minutes, guys. But we'll see you guys in the next one. I'll have all the links in the description. Peace.